She fired me in 5 minutes, called me outdated, and moved on. What she didn't know? I owned 12% of the company. 1 week later, I walked back in with the power to end her reign. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The morning Madison fired me, I'd already been at the office for 3 hours. The coffee in the break room still tasted like cardboard, and the HVAC system in Sector B was acting up again. I'd sent in a ticket and fixed it myself. Habit. That's what 15 years does. It wires you into a place. You stop checking your hours, stop keeping score. Because loyalty doesn't measure in spreadsheets. It shows up at 6:15 a.m. with a tool bag and a quiet sense of duty. Robert Grayson knew that. He built this place from the ground up, and I helped pour the metaphorical concrete. He wasn't flashy. He respected grit. We never needed long talks, just results. So when he died, fast and without warning, something cracked deeper than I expected. But I stayed. Out of duty. Out of grief, out of some desperate hope that his legacy would be honored. Then she arrived, Madison Grayson, 27, fresh from LA in a Porsche and heels that had never touched the warehouse floor. She shook hands like she'd been coached, nodded like she was bored, and started speaking in phrases like synergy realignment and brand evolution. Half the team didn't know whether to laugh or wait for subtitles. Still, I showed up, tried to guide her, suggested she walk the floor, learn the names, feel the rhythm. She didn't. 2 weeks in, she summoned me like I was a vendor. The conference room smelled of floral candles and ambition. She never looked up. "You're kind of outdated," she said, swiping through a color-coded org chart. "It's time we pivot to a leaner, younger structure." She pushed the termination letter across the table with the same indifference you'd use tossing a receipt. I didn't touch it. I didn't speak, because my words weren't meant for her. They were meant for the clause, tucked away in a dusty drawer inside a contract she hadn't even read. A clause with my name on it. A clause that made me far more than a former employee. But for now, I let her believe she'd won. Madison thought she'd written me out of the story. But there was a chapter she never read, because she didn't even know it existed. Back in 2009, when the economy cracked wide open and payroll hung by a thread, Robert came to me with eyes full of worry and a voice that barely covered the strain. He didn't ask for a miracle, just a buffer. I gave him the money, no interest, no hesitation, because I believed in the company more than I needed the cash. It wasn't about leverage. It was about survival. But Robert wasn't the kind of man to take loyalty lightly. Weeks later, he handed me a revised shareholder agreement. 12%, he said, tapping the page. "You earned this." I tucked that contract away in a locked cabinet next to the wedding photo of my late wife and the wrench I used on our first machine. I never bragged, never used it. Because when trust is intact, paperwork is a backup, not a weapon. But Madison didn't know trust. She knew headlines and hashtags. She rearranged the leadership team like it was a furniture set on clearance, oblivious to the foundation beneath it. She had no clue what kept the lights on, or who. 1 week after the pink slip, I filed for a formal shareholder meeting under Clause 4.6. Her assistant tried to block it with the smugness of someone who'd only ever known automatic doors. "You don't work here anymore," she said, eyes dancing. "Check again," I replied, and walked away. When Madison walked into the boardroom and saw me seated at the far end of the long table, folder open, original agreement laid out, notarized and signed, her polished mask slipped, just for a second. "I own 12%, I said. My voice was steady. I didn't raise it. I didn't need to. "And per bylaws, I'm calling a vote of no confidence." The silence was louder than outrage. Around that table sat men and women who knew me. I'd trained most of them, coached them through crises, covered for them when systems failed. They looked at Madison, then at me, and they remembered. Madison came into the vote like it was a boardroom fashion show. Lip gloss perfect, blouse crisp, eyes already rolling. She tried her performance first. Soft voice, tilted head, phrases like innovation gap and generational misalignment. When that didn't land, she pivoted, fast, into flattery, calling the board pillars of continuity and keepers of legacy. A week earlier, she hadn't bothered learning their names. Then came the excuses. Transitioning leadership is messy, she said, fingers tapping the table like a ticking bomb. We're all adapting. But when she saw the numbers, her tone changed. Anger crawled into her voice like static. This is a coup, she snapped, turning to the board members one by one. He manipulated you. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. 5 votes. 2 against. Majority rules. The motion passed. The legal counsel, someone I once helped through a system-wide audit, read the clause aloud. Effective immediately, Madison Grayson's executive privileges were suspended. Interim leadership would be appointed until a full vote could be held. Her email access was revoked before she left the table. I'll sue, she spat, standing so quickly her chair screeched backward. I'll drag this place down with me. I looked at her, calm. You'll lose, I said simply, and meant it. Her threat was hollow, the kind born of entitlement, not leverage. She gathered her leather tote and stormed out. Her heels struck the marble like punctuation, each step a failed rebuttal. When the door clicked shut, no one spoke for a few seconds. The tension didn't pop. It drained, quietly, collectively. Then the chair of the board turned to me. We need stability, not nostalgia, but grounding. I'm not asking for my old job, I said, but I'll help rebuild. If the next operations manager is someone I train, someone who knows the floor before they know the logo. Heads nodded. This time, I wasn't filling a gap. I was drawing a line. The gravel still crunches under my boots the same way it always did when I park in the back lot. Row C, third space from the fence. The steel toe boots are a little more worn now, the laces double knotted, not out of necessity but ritual. I still take the side door in, still pass the old time clock, though no one uses it anymore. Some things don't need changing, they need remembering. I never wanted her seat at the head of the table. That leather chair, the corner office, the polished wood desk, it was never my ambition. What I wanted was honesty, continuity, respect for the work, not just the title. The team she pushed out, the older mechanics, the sharp-tongued dispatcher, even the night shift custodian, most of them came back. Not because I asked them to, because someone did, and that someone listened. The new leadership came from the floor up, not the resume down. I made sure of that. Madison? She tried to pivot. A startup. Something sleek and disruptive. A line of titanium phone cases with built-in fragrance diffusers. It tanked within 6 months. No supply chain strategy. No market research. Just influencer buzz and fast capital. It vanished like steam off a winter vent. Her LinkedIn became a graveyard of past titles and vague consulting work. Occasionally, someone forwards me an invite to a webinar she's hosting. I never click. My satisfaction isn't loud. It's in the nod I get from Luis when I pass by his workbench. It's in the way Dana leaves an extra cup of coffee on my desk without asking. It's in the hum of a team that trusts the process, because it finally trusts the people leading it. Because justice doesn't always come wearing robes. Sometimes it wears boots, and it walks quietly, right through the side door.